if I see or hear the word content even once more, I'm going to send a Terminator back through time just to make sure that it never enters the English language. Anyway, before we get into today's video, which is awesome, I want to do some plugging. That's what she said. The first plug is that of Callus Narrates, a name you probably know. Does a lot for the advanced community, holds the most important advanced tournament, Callus Invitational, which he of course covers in full with some guest narrators. He's also got a weekly Fight Night series between chosen great players. I don't know why In the End by Linkin Park is related to Callus Narrates, but, you know, there you go. Anyway, next up, Disno. He doesn't upload that much, but he's a good Irish guy, and he does some advanced stuff every once in a while, so on the off chance he does pop up, then yeah, give him a look. And while we're here, then give Water Mess a try too. Yeah, he does advanced stuff as well. Good guy. And after these guys, then there's also, if my stupid computer will load, Nathan Likes Chicken, which is a great name, and I was on his channel recently for a video he does. He does a lot of beginner-friendly stuff, you know, team building, the game mechanics in general, like Stealth Rock is good, why, so he's a good watch, check him out, and I think this interview I did with him on how to make your team ready for the threats in the metagame is pretty good. So check him out. And Vaporeon, who is an advanced character. Sorry, my lunch keeps coming back up, just because I saw a Ninjask on my screen. Yeah, so he likes to mess around with Jesus Christ, we're off to a great start. More rarely seen advanced Pokemon, and he knows the metagame inside and out, so I would definitely check him out. He's great. Finally, you might be subscribed to him already, but Finchinator, he's on the up and up. He's uploading a ton. He does a lot of current gen stuff, but he also does a lot of stuff for Black and White, which is his favorite. Hey, look, there's me. Anyway, so yeah, check him out. He's on an uploading tear recently. And finally, one more, Diofantine. I don't know what's going to come up. Okay, this is not what I'm looking for, and my my space is not on the... Okay, you know what? Just... I swear I saw him, his videos. If he wants to comment on this video saying, hey guys, this is my channel, then I'll pin it so you guys can find him, because he also does GSC stuff. He's been posting in my Discord, so join the Discord and you can see that there. But Dio, if you want to get featured or whatever, then just comment, and yeah. So those are all my plugs. That's what she said, and let's get into today's video. So, as long as I've been playing competitive Pokemon, or seriously at least, on Smogon and whatnot, then there are periods in time where all the good players, or all the players in the know, seem to be using a certain underrated set. And that helps them succeed a lot, because sometimes a set is just perfectly timed for its place in the metagame, or it's just being overlooked, like in older gens where, let's say in DPP, Subheatran gets forgotten about, and then people are like, hey, Subheatran is still good, so it experiences a bit of rejuvenation, gets itself put back on the map and whatnot. And in advance, then it's more the latter. But, you know, every once in a while there's some new cool sets you see, and the good players are using them because they match up well against the metagame. That's what makes them good sets. So today we are going to go over an underrated set for all 27 OU Pokemon, and if I'm not going insane by the end, then maybe we'll dip into some of the UUs and BLs that can use some that use something lesser seen but very good. And hopefully this will give you an edge for your own advanced games, or, you know, if you don't play advanced yourself, then just enjoy, because I have a lot to say about these sets. Now, granted, for some Pokemon like Jolteon, this is not going to be much of a departure from its usual stuff. It's just little tweaks. It can be anything from a big, a set that totally turns how you play against the Pokemon on its head, or it can just be a little tweak that makes it better. Like, for example, when you face a sub-Salic Heracross with Focus Punch, then that makes it really difficult to deal with, because Salic is dangerous, and when you add Focus Punch on top of it, then Skarmory doesn't wall it, thereby meaning you don't have to, thereby opening up an opportunity to not run Magneton on your team, that sort of thing. And with Jolteon, then, you know, sometimes it doesn't change too much, generally. But that's a Pokemon by Pokemon basis, so let's get into it. So, Aero. This first set, I believe, was made by Vaporeon, and it's really dumb. So usually Aero runs Rockhead, because on the Choice Band set it runs Double Edge. And then Vaporeon was like, hey, what if I ran the stupidest set ever? So we know the power of Substitute and Protect. Also, if you want to run if you want to learn how to team build better in advance, that video is coming. Promise, just a big project. Anyway, so, but for now, if you just want to, you know, throw these on teams, then go nuts. And if you want advice on those teams, then come join the Discord, where myself and other experienced advanced players will help you out. Anyway, I don't know the EVs on this thing, but I'm just going to assume fast, so faster than Doug. I would actually want it to be slower than other Aero instead of winning a speed tie, so you can sub out Rock Slides. So let's say you come in, you have a sub up, and then you protect, and that way you can just protect and sub and be slower every time. So you do want to be, and you're still going to outrun Dugtrio and +1 T-Tar, stuff like that. And I don't know how much special attack you would need. You know, if you want to mess around in the calc, go nuts. Calcing against Metagross and stuff. And I don't know how much good the bulk actually does for you. But what this set does is it subs, it protects, it toxics, everything that can be toxic, and a few things that don't, steel types. And then I'm hiccuping just thinking about how annoying this set is on the few occasions I've seen it. Then, yeah, it's incredibly irritating. Now, it's not the best set in the world, because one of Aero's main counters is Swampert, and Swampert runs Refresh a lot. You know, same with stuff like Milotic. But, so it's not the most serious set, but it's still really irritating. And, yeah, it's, with pressure and Substitute and Protect, it can do really dumb stuff. Like, Zapdos can run out of Thunderbolts really fast. So, there's that. And, obviously you want Sand and Spikes with this to really go all in on chipping everything down. So, there's that. And if you want, I'll throw in a 2-for-1 here. This is a set that's good on SD Pass, and not Sludge. I meant to type Slide. Yeah, and Double Edge, and you pretty much just... This is so you activate your Lychee after 3 subs. And yeah, you pretty much just pass an SD to this, and then you sub down, and you have a +3 Aero that can switch moves, and you're outspeeding everything, and it's incredibly dangerous. So that one's pretty simple. Use with SD Pass Celebi, and Magneton, and Metagross with Agility or Salic Berry. So yeah, these are some good Aero sets. So moving on to Pokemon number 2, Blissey. So Blissey is one of those Pokemon where with the underrated set, then it's still going to largely play the same. You know, you're still going to switch into special attackers. However, this is a set made by Ostomatitos, and it is Sing. And you're thinking, Sing, 55 accuracy, that's horrible. And then for the last set, we're just going to run Seismic Toss and Ice Beam, because these 3 moves that you see on your screen now, Blissey could run these 3 moves and be fine. But, you know, and then the 4th slot is your Toxic, your Thunder Wave, your Wish, your Counter, whatever. So Sing is very good here, and we're going to make it just honest max special attack. You can run Bold if you like, if you're scared of Mixed Ments. So, yeah, this is standard Blissey, except with Sing. So why Sing? 55 accuracy is awful. Well, when you think about it, then there's a lot of odds that people rely on all the time that are way worse than 55%. Like, consider this statistical anomaly. That's not quite what it is, but people expect Jirachi's Iron Head to flinch every time, right? And they expect Gengar's Hypnosis to miss every time. they're the exact same percentage. Or people expect Scald to burn every time, but Focus Blast to miss every time. Stuff like that. So, yeah, Sing is in a game where people rely on 6% more than I've ever seen before. Like, crit fish, people are incredibly quick to jump to, oh, I'm going to crit it, as an option of dealing with something. And so, 55 is not that bad. And what's more, what makes this better than something like Hypnosis Gengar is that Blissey has approximately a gajillion free turns per game in which to throw out this Sing. So you're going to have a lot of opportunity to come in, shut something down with Sleep, and the rewards are huge. If you want to do some digging, check out Asta versus Ojama in SPL 8. So that was SPL 9. So that was 2018, so 2 years ago. And Sing Blissey puts in a lot of work because the upside of sleeping something is huge. And this last move slot can be a lot of things. You're not giving up much to use it. And shutting down that T-Tar, that Metagross, or that Snorlax, or that Skarmory, or that Swampert, huge. And you're going to have a lot of opportunity to fire it off against Zapdos and Moltres and yada yada yada. So Sing Bliss, really awesome. Some people like to mess around with it. They like to run fast Blissey. I've run Bold's max speed because this is a good speed stat. And some people even run Timid because this lets them get the jump on offensive Swampert and lots of Metagross and everything in that range, which is a ton of stuff. Personally, I prefer slower Sing because that way, if you sing something and you're faster, then they can wake up on the next turn. So let's say you're in versus an offensive Swampert, you Sing, you hit, it sleeps that turn. The next turn, it can already wake up. Whereas if you have a slower Sing, then you will be able to switch to your next Pokemon safely, 100%. So you will absolutely get that free turn no matter what. And however, this is not to say that Timid Blissey cannot make use of this, because a lot of the Sings it's going to be throwing out are on the Switch, which is functionally the same thing, and even Timid Blissey is slower than a lot of stuff like Zapdos, so yeah, it can be nice. So yeah, that's Sing Blissey, credit to Asta, great set. Celebi, what is a good set for Celebi? Well, I run a lot of Calm Mind Pass, and I think it's amazing. But I'm going to, let's see, Swords Dance Pass, Calm Mind Pass, Offensive Calm Mind. I don't know if any of those are really underrated. So, I have a specific set in mind. Leech, Recover, Filler, Psychic, whatever. Psychic if you don't have a Pursuit Tar. HP Grass if you do. Because Pursuit Tar handles Gengar. Excuse me, I'm not feeling so great today. So, your stab here, let's just say HP Grass. And in the last slot, you can run Reflect. Now, Reflect Celebi is unfrigging breakable. Dugtrio doesn't stand a chance. CB Tar, nothing. And it just makes the rest of your team unbreakable as well. And it's really helpful for not getting, dugged, as said before, but also just dealing with powerful choice banners in general, like CB Metagross. So, and Celebi's got the speed to throw up Reflect in front of those strong physical attackers. Like, if you run 270, you can even do it in front of Heracross. If you have Psychic, you want to Psychic it there, but generally Reflect goes with HP Grass because it allows you to destroy Dugtrio so thoroughly. So, I don't know if I'd run this without it, but it's flexible. You can also run this just because you want to outspeed offensive Suicune. And we'll go for another 2 for the price of 1. I really love this set. Light Screen Celebi is insanely underrated. The EVs can vary, but it helps it dumpster Suicune, helps with stuff like Mixed Ments, helps with mixed attackers in general. Mixed attackers are generally the bane of these kinds of balance teams with spikes that Celebi finds itself on, because if they're not running Milotic, then they're in trouble, and suddenly you throw up that mixed You throw up that light screen, and the mixed attacker gets neutered. And even the ones that carry Brick Break, like T-Tar and Mence, they have to use Brick Break to actually get rid of the screen, which makes your switch to your Gengar a lot safer. So either you take nothing from their special attack, or you block their Brick Break completely, and the light screen is still intact. Or you can, safely pivot to Skarmory without fear of getting Fire Blasted. And you can threaten Toxic or whatever. It's got a lot of applications. EVs can vary. It can run Calm. It can do whatever. But I'm a big fan of this. I used this a lot a couple years ago. So yeah, big fan of both Reflect and Light Screen. I wouldn't use both. That's too much. But yeah, so next up, Claydol. If you are in tune with the metagame, then you probably know the set I'm going to recommend here. It's offensive, it's fast. Turns out, as Passive G discovered, Claydol's pretty bulky even when you don't invest in its HP. Or when you don't invest in its bulk, and just max HP makes it pretty bulky. But turns out that it can do its job really well, and even better when it's fast. Not just outspeeding Pursuit Tyranitar, but outspeeding stuff in general. Now, Adamant is the preferred set, for me at least, because you really pound max HP Tyranitar, whereas Jolly has a chance to not 2 a KO with max HP through leftovers. But it's a small chance, but it's still there, and if they're switching around and forcing you to use Spin and Psychic and coming back in for that extra leftovers, it can get ugly, whereas that's a lot harder to do against Adamant because it really stings it. But Claydol is great because it's got a really nice speed stat. Is that an ad? No, there was just some weird voices. Okay. The voices in my head are manifesting themselves on my screen. Anyway, so, yeah, it hits hard, it hits Tyranitar hard, and it's fast, meaning it can explode. It can explode against fast Swampert, even Endeavor. It can outspeed Mixed Tar, outspeeds a lot of Cloysters, a lot of Suicunes. And if you go Jolly, you'll outrun even max speed Adam and Heracross and modest Suicune, and Gyarados and whatnot. So it's either way, it's a really great set, and it really expands what Claydol can do. It's not meant for super stally teams, but this helps Claydol fit on offense and do its job well. And you want Explosion because you threaten Zapdos and Salamence and Waters and Celebi. So offensive Claydol is a great Pokemon. Use it on offense. Cloyster. Honestly, with Cloyster, I kind of have to do the same thing. If you're in tune with the metagame, this is the set you'll be running. There's no sense walling stuff with Cloyster. You gotta go fast. Something I discovered recently was that this EV spread is optimal because the EV spread that some people like is 72, 244, which leaves you with 190. This is to survive a Starmie Thunderbolt at full HP, which is crucial because Starmie is the most perfect Cloyster switch. You'll never keep up spikes against it, but at least you can remove it from the battle, which is really nice because nearly every single Cloyster team is super offensive. That's why you're using Cloyster, for offensive purposes. And Starmie's a huge threat to those offensive teams, because they do not handle its attacks very well. I mean, even stuff like Snorlax gets worn down by Hydro Pump and Sand. God forbid there's spikes to deal with too. So if you can just explode on it, then that's really good. Most people run this, but I was doing some calcing recently, and I realized you can save yourself 4 EVs. Now you have 196 EVs to play with. So, I mean, they pretty much always go in speed anyway. So it's just creep on that whole Endeavor Pert, max speed Tar, bulky Zapdos and Celebi, offensive Suicune, stuff that hangs around here, and they usually tend to creep a little bit more. But yeah, so this is a great speed stat to hit. And I mean, even if you run the other one, 246 is still a great speed stat. It's pretty much how Cloyster plays. I mean, if you want, then you can go down to here and throw some EVs and special attack or something. It's still going to hit hard with this Explosion. I mean, this is a lot stronger than Gengar Explosion, even with a lot of investment, so you don't need to worry about that. If you really wanted to hit harder, then I guess you could, I don't know, I mean, run minus defense or minus special attack or something. But yeah, and another underrated aspect of this set is that if Skarmory's not running Toxic, then you can Rapid Spin on it all the livelong day. And I think Rapid Spin on Cloyster is really, really nice, especially because a lot of Skarm teams have a habit of going without... Why do my screen dimensions keep messing up? Anyway, so they have the habit of going without Gengar now, and you should be able to deal with the Gengar switch anyway. I don't think surfing it is going to make that much of a difference unless you manage to do it several times, which doesn't sound right for the kind of frenetic pace Cloyster teams play at. So, yeah. Now, Rapid Spin is good on it, Surf is good, but here's another underrated aspect, HP Grass. And the reason for this, if you don't need Spin, like if you're pairing this with Claydol, an offensive Claydol, they make for a great duo, then you get on HP Grass, because a lot of the time, Cloyster's #1 point of entry is Swampert. So you force the Swampert in with Tyranitar or your HP Ice Electric, and you go to Cloyster to get your spikes, right? And a lot of time, Swampert goes, alright, well, he's going to spike, so I'm going to Focus Punch. And you can HP Grass and nail that Swampert, and you can still get your spike after. So against an offensive team, this is definitely worth considering. If you just want to take your spike and explode on the Zapdos switch in, or T-Tar or whatever, then that's fine too. And then you ride that one spike. Or you spike on the switch as they run away from your explosion, then that works too. And then you still have a great speed stat to explode on stuff with. And this is getting the jump on a ton of Metagross, and you can still come back later off a good switch. You're getting the jump on T-Tar as well, every single one. So, yeah, HP Grass is nice. It's also good against other Cloyster. So, yeah, HP Grass, offensive Cloyster, it's with this amount of SpDef investment, good set. Dugtrio. I mean, this is another Pokemon where you're not going to change too much, so I'm just going to say beat up Dugtrio. A lot of people ask, what's beat up Dugtrio for? The answer is to hit Blissey harder than Earthquake, which it will if you have high attack stats across your team. Another little trick is when you're not running max speed, which we're not going to do because we want it to be bulky, because we want it to take Blissey Ice Beam. Then we run the HP Bug Spread with 30 Special Defense and 30 Speed, and max attack and defense. 122, not Hasty, that's Showdown, messing around. You want to run Jolly, and if you have this 136 defense stat, then you will always live a CB Tyranitar Rock Slide. And even with this spread, whoops, not that one, sorry, this one, then if you just run 4 defense, if you're running max speed, max attack Dugtrio, CB Dugtrio, then your last 4 should be in defense for that CB Tar scenario. But now, while a lot of people are going to want this max speed Dugtrio, tying with other Dugs can be crucial, and you also will outrun Jolly Tar after a boost. Now, if, that's great, but the underrated part is the bulk, which lets you live Blissey, and there are more super optimal spreads, and beat up, of course, and you can mess around with the spreads to have great odds to live a max Tar Earthquake or whatnot, but this is a rough approximation of what it does. And the speed is to outrun positive base 100s, so Jirachi is the biggest one there, and by extension you'll outrun Celebi. And the bulk also comes in handy in switching into stuff like Ice Punch Jirachi. And even sometimes just surviving an electric-type hidden power is also cool. Or switching into T-Tar, because so many T-Tars are mixed, so you can switch into an HP Grass comfortably. So, and sometimes you'll miss Rock Slide, but beat-ups... for a lot of teams, taking out Blissey is literally the most important thing, so anything to do that, hence the bulk and beat-up. So, there's Doug for you, Flygon. I love Flygon. I'm going to use the set... Now, there's a lot of options here. I think Choice Band is amazing. I think Physically Defensive is really terrific. But this is an underrated set that UD made popular. And a couple other guys have attached themselves to in recent months. And it's really nice. Oh, that reminds me. Zalmog makes videos as well. So... although he doesn't upload too recently, but he... Oh, shit. Yeah, so... yeah, he did some videos of his SPL stuff, if you want to check that out. He doesn't upload too often, but yeah. So, I thought of him because he also always use Shiny Flygon, because he's shown an affinity for this Flygon set recently. But yeah, it's really, really nasty. Sometimes Flygon can be a little prediction reliant, and with this, then you take that away. You no longer have to guess if the Mence is going to come in or whatnot. So the set's really nice. You can run Jolly if you want to get the jump on Jirachi and Celebi and most Mence and Zapdos. I personally think Adamante's really good, and personally I wouldn't even run max speed. I would, drop it a little, because Flygon has nice bulk. But Flygon in general is a great, great Pokemon, and this set with Magneton is really, really nasty. It 100% needs Magneton, don't get me wrong, but it's really nasty. And here's a reason why Flygon's so nasty. It devastates most offensive teams. So let's take the standard offensive team. You've got your Zapdos, Salamence, T-Tar, Metagross, Swampert, Snorlax, right? That's the gold standard for no mag offense, because obviously mag gets absolutely destroyed. So that's just another victim. The most popular Zapdos set by far is T-Ball, HP Grass, T-Wave, Baton Pass, completely walled by Flygon. You can't be walled by Swampert, though, with Zapdos. That's obviously more important. And the physical defensive core on that team is Swampert and Metagross. And the Swampert is offensive because you don't want to be giving up layers to Skarmory. So you hate taking Stab Earthquake. And you're thinking, well, Metagross backs it up physically, but it's not going to want to take Flygon Stab Earthquake. God, it gets trucked. Another reason why Adamant is so nice. Zapdos gets walled, T-Tar gets shredded, Metagross gets shredded, Swampert can only take one or two, Snorlax is obviously not a counter. And, if you hide behind the sub and chip Mence with Rock Slide, not to mention, a lot of those teams don't even run Mence to begin with. They're running stuff like Celebi and Magneton. So, this Flygon is a major, major, major threat against offense. Incredibly, incredibly nasty. And it doesn't have to be sub. It can be, like, toxic or protect. Protect is really nice, too, for shrugging off chip, avoiding a Snorlax boom. So that's another underrated thing, so we'll just throw that in there. So yeah, Protect is amazing, even on offensive Flygon, but Sub is the standard, so yeah, this Flygon is excellent. Give it a whirl. Forretress. Alright, so I am not a Forretress fan, but I recognize it has some merit. And as for underrated sets, then Forretress actually has a lot of really nasty options. Now, I think the standard Forretress that should pretty much always be run is Earthquake Explosion, because Earthquake makes it Earthquake, and it rarely dies to HP Fire from Magneton, so at least you can do that and take it out of the equation. And even if you get pursued by T-Tar after, at least you've taken out the mag. I mean, in theory, you can also run counter over Earthquake, but I like Earthquake for immediately pressuring Metagross and Tyranitar, even something like a Calm Mind Jirachi. And generally a good move. And Explosion is crucial because it lets it actually it lets it be a threat against stuff like Snorlax and a fire type like Moltres or Charizard switching in, or Zapdos one-on-one, or Salamence, or Waters, like especially Suicune. So I like that. So this is the set I would run. You can throw an HP Bug and stuff, but it generally becomes pretty ugly. However, if there is one move to take out over Explosion, especially because when you're using Fori, you're going, oh, well, Skarm and Gengar and T-Tar everywhere, what am I going to explode on? Sometimes it can feel useless. So the answer is Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon is really nice because a lot of the time, my problem with Forretress is Skarmory and Gengar and Pursuitar and Dugtrio, they just make it very difficult for Fori to exist when it gets in on Skarm, because there's never really a truly right option. It can always burn you. Those guys can always burn you. Whereas with Zap Cannon, whether they stay in with Skarm to taunt or to Whirlwind or Drill Peck, or they go to Gengar to block your spin, then you have the potential to absolutely ruin them with Zap Cannon. So, especially Gengar. And it's 50%, but again, worse odds are relied on all the time, and you just need the one to hit. I'm not crazy about this set, but I think as far as underrated options on Fori go, then it's one of the better ones. It can also obviously totally destroy a Magneton switching in, which is nice. Yeah, so if you're not running that, then Counter also is a good option, because Counter counters every single hidden power in this generation, even the special ones, so you can counter an HP Fire from Mag, you can counter back a Choice Banded attack, you can... Yeah, so it's just more offense, threaten Heracross without having to explode on it, stuff like that. So yeah, that's Fori. Gengar. Now, Gengar has a lot of really tricky options, and it's really, really difficult to consolidate all of what I think it can do, even without abusing spikes, just as a facilitator for other Pokemon. It's really hard to consolidate all of that into one set. So I am going to... I've shown off the no attacks besides Boom Gengar before, I think. And I kind of want to use that one. So... Well, okay, the standard underrated Gengar is Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, one attack, so Ice Punch or T-Bolt, depending on the team. I think Ice Punch generally is a little safer. And, but although Thunderbolt is also nice because that means you don't actually get walled by Moltres, so... And, of course, hitting Suicune is nice. And then the last is Destiny Bond, because Boom on Gengar can sometimes feel kind of not so good. You know, it's like, am I ever booming against this Pursuit Tart Armada? No, but you can take it with you. Or just take anything with you. And you can run whatever Gengar spread you like. You can, you know, run your Salamence Survivor, Spadef Tar Survivor thing with, you know, this much speed to outrun Moltres, survive it in sand, yada yada. And Destiny Bond pretty much everything. Or you can run a faster Gengar, can run offensive. You might want to take hits not as well because you want to actually be KO'd by things as your Destiny Bond, like against a Metagross Meteor Mash. So this is a really good set. I've used a ton of this, and you use your... What's nice about it is that a lot of the time you feel like Gengar has to stay at full health to actually take that one hit it needs to. That +1 Salamence, that Tar Pursuit, whatever. But here, you can get dirty with Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. You can stay in and eat a Blissey Ice Beam because every single hit you take makes it easier for you to pull off Destiny Bond later, like against a refreshing Swampert. You know, you no longer have to... You can afford to taunt it. You Will-O-Wisp it on the switch and then taunt it as it tries to refresh and, you know, eat the Surf, and eventually you can Destiny Bond and take it out, or take something else out because you're guaranteed to die to it. So this Gengar is very good. It can run fast. It can run whatever it wants. So, great set. Really nice. Gara. Gara is good. Now, I have a video about UD's team with Rest Gara, and it's really nasty, but what I'm going to propose is something different. So, DD Gara can be a really nasty threat sometimes, but it can also be kind of inconsistent. You know, the roadblocks it has are some pretty bad ones. It's got, you know, Aero and Zapdos to contend with, and, you know, there's always Gengar. There's always getting blown up by Metagross and Snorlax. I did once try Substitute on Gara. I think I ran HP Rock, but, you know, HP Flying is also fine. And that's really nice because you block Metagross from exploding on you, Snorlax, and that tends to be used against Gara really nicely. Or a lot, sorry. So this is the minimum speed you want on Gara to outrun Dugtrio after a dance. You can obviously run more because you're in that whole creep range against Suicunes and whatnot. I don't think it's necessary, though, given that Gara's going to take those hits and DD up anyway. But yeah, Sub is nice. But the set I want to throw out there is, well, Double Edge is nice because it makes Zapdos not a check to you. Like, offensive Zapdos, you hit it with HP Flying once, and then you DD and Double Edge puts it away. So it's really nasty. So, and this is just standard Gara, so you can consider that. And another reason for Substitute was that it blocked status. Not just Toxic from Milotic and whatnot and Swampert, like Taunt would, but even Body Slam from Jirachi. Although that's less relevant now, but I think it's Sub's still nice because it blocks status and booms. So it's good. And Double Edge is good, but Thunder Wave is the set I wanted to mention because it means Gara can sweep with just HP Flying and EQ, but it can also support. I mean, switching Aero into a Thunder... So, you know, when you drop HP Flying for HP Rock, then suddenly you're not hitting Celebi. So this kind of lets you have your cake and eat it too, and that you're always going to have your Flying Stab. But even if they do have that Aero or Zapdos, then you can T-Wave them and absolutely ruin them. And this is obviously great support for Choice Banders or just slow Pokemon like Tyranitar in general. And it's really nice. You can cripple stuff like Jirachi or like Salamence trying to set up. God, super, super nice. So yeah, T-Wave, DD Gara, really really good Pokemon. Hera. Hera's really great. And I thought I was going to mention Asta's Subsalic Focus Punch set, but I'm going to take it in a different direction because I love Choice Band Heracross. I think it's amazing. And honestly, you could just get by with Mega Horn and you would be fine. But oh, it's freaking delightful. It's so strong. You know, you can run your max speed. Personally, I like a little bit of bulk. I like to hang around this area and just throw some in HP because Heracross does have decent bulk. And you might think, wait, don't you run Guts so that, you know, status makes you even stronger? Yes, you can. You very much can. But here's what I found. You're not switching Hera into status. I don't want it taking a T-Wave. I don't want it taking a Toxic. That's just making it easier to play around. And I'm definitely not switching it into a Will-O-Wisp for the same reason. I mean, you can run HP Ghost over one of Focus Punch or Brick Break, but I really like having these and dealing with Hera, with Gengar, or another way. I mean, it doesn't even switch into CB Mega Horn, which it quad resists very nicely, to say nothing of Rock Slide, so... And you can throw it, and since it's getting chipped so easily, you don't need Pursuit Tar, you can be content with Pursuit Metagross, for example. So, I like Swarm because Hera gets chipped a lot by, you know, Swampert attacks and Sand and whatnot, Protect and all that stuff. And that way, when it's at low HP, then that is when you become really scary and just do some Swarm CB Mega Horn calcs. They are beautiful. Zapdos and Salamence just get crushed. Arrow, Magneton, Metagross, Swampert, Suicune, goodbye. They are so dead. Yeah, a lot of the time you see Magneton offense having to pivot around Heracross with Magneton, and because they don't want their Salamence, which is DD, to take damage before it can sweep, so it can take that one hit. But wow, it's just... Oh, it is delightful. What are these sounds? Children playing. Oh, lovely. Anyway, Focus Punch's damage is huge. It has a 25% chance to OHKO max HP Skarmory. It is a thing of wonder. So, I like Brick Break because you threaten Blissey and stuff, even if they stay in. Snorlax, obviously, so you don't have to Mega Horn. Not having to chance Mega Horn against T-Tar is obviously great, but Mega Horn is just wonderful button to click. If you pair it with Magneton, that makes it easier because you no longer have to deal with the one thing that can eat your CB Mega Horns in Skarmory. So that makes it easier. You don't have to, and if you you have Magneton, you can throw an HP Ghost or something. But I don't think HP Ghost is very good to lock into. I would rather run this set. You can also run Sleep Talk if you wanted to absorb Venusaur or something. And that's not bad either, especially because Sleep Talk can call Focus Punch, so you have a higher chance of calling Mega Horn. You can run Guts with that. But yeah, CB Hera in all shapes and sizes is just wonderful. And don't run Jolly. It's not worth it, I promise. Swords Dance lefties Heracross, at least that makes sense because you have a chance to go for a sweep. But with Jolly, no, you need the power on Choice Band. And I think you need it on Swords Dance in general. But yeah, Jirachi. Lots of great options here. Jirachi is incredibly diverse. And of course, there are all the usual suspects. Offensive Calm Mind, Sub Calm Mind, Wish Calm Mind, defensive with Body Slam, Asta's set, defensive with Toxic, Fears set, Mixed, which is a set I came up with and I think is really nice. So I like that one. Body Slam, Dynamic Punch, Fire Punch. You know what? We'll go with 2. So Body Slam... I used to spam this in a lot of tournaments, and it was always really nice. And the idea is that, again, Dynamic Punch is risky, but with Paralysis, it's more forgiving because they can also full para, and and also they have a lower chance to hit you because the Paralysis stacks with the Confusion if it hits. So yeah, it's really nasty. And not to mention, a huge appeal of this Jirachi is that you have fighting coverage. And that means Blissey and Tyranitar, which are normally such great switch-ins to it, they're getting walloped. So it's a really, really nasty Pokemon. It spreads para really easily. Slow Pokemon like Snorlax doesn't want to take Dynamic Punch. Swampert doesn't want to take HP Grass. Tyranitar depunched, obviously, and then faster Pokemon that don't mind the coverage, like Zapdos and Salamence, then they don't want to get paralyzed. And it's a really, really nasty offensive threat. You get to use Jirachi's wonderful bulk and typing, and Yeah, it's a really, really dangerous Pokemon. I think you should try it out. Leftovers is nice, so you pretend to be a Superachi. You know, you can pull off some surprise. But you can also run Lumberry to give yourself some leeway, like against a Bliss trying to T-Wave you, or Snorlax Body Slam, or a Magneton T-Wave, or Zapdos and whatnot. And if you really want to be a douchebag, you can run Bright Powder, which makes it even more impossible to hit with Body Slam, Dynamic Punch. Yeah, I would recommend the other options more, but this can definitely, you know, ruin someone's life. Now, the other Jirachi set I really love. Now, people are torn on this. I think most people don't like it, but I think it's incredible. And I used it in a couple tournaments, and it's just wonderful. So, first of all, you're going in on the physical coverage thing again, meaning Blissey, Tyranitar, goodbye. And then the last, you can spread more para with Body Slam, and you've got Shadow Ball for some nice coverage. But the reason that this set is so good is because of Doom Desire. So the reason Doom Desire is so nice, well, first of all, it's typeless. You don't get Stab, it's not Steel, but you also don't get Resisted. The way Doom Desire works is that it takes the defense stat of the Pokemon you use it on and then applies it to the Pokemon that's being hit 2 turns later. So here's an easy example. You use Doom Desire as Blissey comes in, expecting you to be a special set. And then you go to your physical attacker, you know, your Metagross or whatever. And then Blissey has to run away from your Metagross because otherwise it's going to die. So they go to their Skarmory or their Water type, and they take the Metagross hit, and they are hit by Doom Desire with Blissey's defense stat. And Blissey's defense stat, you'll recall, is really, really low, so they're taking a ton of damage from Doom Desire. And it's just a thing of wonder. I have a tournament replay from 4-ish years ago where I used it, and it's just, Doom Desire is so nasty. Even if you don't have that perfect scenario of Blissey comes in and, you know, you wallop the other thing, making the opponent take 2 attacks at once is incredible because it's a lose-lose. They have to switch their wall into an attack that they already take a decent chunk from, and then they get hit by even more. So it's really nasty. And I think this set is actually really good with CB Metagross because, you know, switching into CB Gross is hard enough, and then you throw Doom Desire on top of it? No, thank you. So it's great. Obviously, you have some problems, you know, getting trapped and whatnot. CB Metagross has the same issues, but I think this set is incredible upside. So give it a whirl, and give this one a whirl too. Jolteon. Honestly, there's not much to say about Jolteon because it's going to run Thunderbolt, Hidden Power, Ice or Grass, and then the last is always going to vary between Baton Pass to escape Dugtrio, keep momentum, BP Electrics are always good. Roar, this used to be because it was a good Raikou check, but you know, it also racks up really nasty damage on Blissey with Spikes. This one's less popular. People love T-Wave just to prevent stuff from setting up, like T-Tar, because Jolteon outruns even Jolly T-Tar after a dance because it's so fast. And there are other options like Wish. I am a huge fan of Wish. And so the set I want to talk about, Subpass is really popular on ladder, and it's pretty good. And the set I want to talk about is that with Pitaya Berry. So, you know, some physical offense teams, like they're Lychee Berry and whatnot, but Jolteon tends to get chipped a lot. You know, Sand, sometimes it's used to switch into Gengar Burn because it can take it and force the Gengar out. And when you get to that low HP with Spikes and Sand and whatnot, then you get the Pitaya and you can pass it on to something else to make it really nasty. And you can even potentially use it yourself because Jolteon's sometimes a little starved for power, but here it's really nice. And honestly, this is for really offensive teams with Spikes, and you know, you pass this to Starmie or whatever, then it's really nasty. But that's pretty much it. Jolteon doesn't have much else. I mean, I'm a big fan of Wish. I think it's really great just to give your offensive team longevity. And I know Vapokuno has used Curse Pass Jolt because it's still fast even after it drops its own speed, but yeah. An underrated set, I guess, is Tickle. Tickle Jolt is really funny. It won't work on Metagross because Metagross has clear body, but dropping the opponent's attack and defense is really nasty. I mean, think about it. Blissey's defense gets dropped, goodbye. Dugtrio traps it, everything threatens it, even a Swampert Earthquake. And dropping a Tyranitar's attack, that's really huge. It's 100% too, and does it have more PP than Dragon Dance? It has the same amount of PP as Dragon Dance, so you can PP stall it without giving it any attack boost, so that's great. And you're weakening its defense, of course, and great against stuff like Snorlax, so Tickle, I think, is probably more feasible than that. So, yeah, Tickle Jolteon. Tickle your opponent to death, just like Wobbuffet and DVP Ubers. Yeah, other than that, you know, Jolteon, it's Toxic, T-Wave, Wish, Roar, Protect, not really good, but, you know, stuff like that. Tickle, I think, is actually pretty great, though. Yeah, so then there's Magneton. Mag has a couple of great options, but most of the time it's going to be the same deal. Thunderbolt, pick your hidden power, and Fire or Grass. And then, you know, you got your Toxic Protect, you've got your T-Wave to prevent D-Deers from setting up and just generally be annoying. And, you know, it doesn't get much further than that. Some people like Reflect, some people like Metal Sound, and... you know, some people actually, I'll throw in two here. So the first set I want, so this set is anything with Substitute, and Thunderbolts, you know, let's just run with HP Fire because Forretress is annoying, and the last can be Thunder Wave because it's generally safe. And this is a really great set when you pair it with, you know, Leftovers is nice so you create more subs. And it's specifically nice when you pair it with Leech Seed Celebi, specifically Subpass Celebi. I posted about this on the Smogon forums if you want to look that up, but the idea is that by passing Leech Seed with Celebi to Magneton against Metagross, then Metagross just gets destroyed, and yeah, pretty much that. So, because Metagross, you run Sub, so Metagross can't just explode on you, and you Leech Seed it, and then you go to Magneton and you sub the Metagross down until it's in Thunderbolt range. And you take it out pretty much for free. You don't even have to lose your Magneton to it. I mean, worst case, it explodes as you go to Magneton. Metagross booming on Mag is generally positive for the Mag user. Because Mag isn't that useful, and you know, if you can use it to get rid of Metagross, that's huge, that's really good. So, I think I'm almost out of time with this one, so I'll have to throw something on after. Anyway, so you can run Magnet here, you can run whatever, but it's generally a fast sub-Magneton along, you know, Modest or Timid, either's fine. Timid is nice against faster Gross, especially because a lot of C-Beers run max speed, but, you know, then again, you know, Timid max speed HP Grass is the safest, because there's sometimes even Salad Gross now, although, you know, you can't really get around that one, but that's specific. The general idea is that Sub Leech Celebi, or Leech Seed Celebi, especially with Sub, and Sub Magneton is a great pairing. So this isn't really an underrated set on its own, but an underrated pairing that involves Magneton. It's also great because against stuff like Blissey, if you get a Leech Seed, or Snorlax, and you can sub and sub and sub, and you're getting a ton of HP back because your HP stat is so low and their HP stat is so high. And then you can hide behind that sub and just attack them over and over, and they're not only taking the attack, which already does a decent chunk, but also getting drained by a Leech Seed, and it's just... It's very nice. It's a very nice way of dealing with threats in an unorthodox way. It's also great against like Wish, Calm Mind, Jirachi. You know, you Leech Seed it, you trap it, you T-Wave, you sub, you attack. It's nasty. Now, the set that's annoying on its own is Salicberry, and this is a nice way of letting Magneton turn the tables against faster offensive Pokemon. It's got a great special attack stat, but it needs HP Grass because you need to actually be able to threaten Dugtrio. So, you don't need max speed, although, I mean, you may as well, honestly. So, yeah, you just endure, and then suddenly, like, Starmie, outsped, you know, not Aero and Jolteon, mainly Aero, because you can't outspeed them, but, you know, Starmie is a big one, offensive Swampert, or, like, Salic Swampert is a big one. And for some reason, I'm forgetting more, like Heracross, Suicune, whatever. Suddenly, you have a very threatening Pokemon on your hands, and you know, just getting that T-Wave off on something like on a Salamence is really nice. So you can turn the tables on offense, and it's pretty much as simple as that. Great set, really nice. So next up is Metagross. Now we have a lot of options here. Hell, we have several Asta sets alone that are nice. In the mixed variants he likes, the ones with and without Pursuit, and the Salix set. So I personally am a huge fan of Tank Metagross, and I guess... Oh, let me get rid of these guys. So, I guess my underrated Metagross is going to be the physical defensive tank, because Pursuit stuff is really underrated. Honestly, maybe we'll throw that in there too, as the cars scream by my window. But yeah, the physical defensive tank is really nice. You run... It's basically like a Swampert. You run Protect for Recovery, but what I like about it is that it can explode on waters. That can be annoying, and it's great against Snorlax. So a lot of defensive teams with Swampert, they kind of struggle against Snorlax a little more after Skarmory gets magged, especially if they're running a special tar. But with Metagross, you don't have that issue. Works incredibly well with Wish Blissey, incredibly well. Switches into Focus Punch Lax all day long, even Earthquake, honestly. And it's a threat in return. It can explode. It's a great, great, great set. You can run Adamant. I like... I mean, Max Defense does amazing things, but I like around this much... I think it was this much. Defense, yeah, roughly that. Actually, I think that was the exact spread. So you can run that or you can run Impish. Both are great. Let me throw on something else. Let's go to Sinnoh, because Sinnoh confirmed, am I right? Actually, I started playing Pokemon Black as I went to the gym the other day, so we're gonna go with Unova. Anyway, so there's that, and then Metagross. Just, I don't want to get into the full details of Pursuit Metagross, but it's really nice. You know, running with Psychic so you threaten Gengar, and even when you get burned and, you know, when you have modest nature, then Explosion is still going to really hurt. Remember how we said that Cloyster's Explosion really hurts even with minus attack, and it's a lot stronger than even invested Gengar? Well, Metagross, but a lot more. So, same idea. So Pursuit Gross is great, Tank Gross is really great. Milotic. So we all know Milotic for the unkillable defensive wall with Refresh and whatnot, but an underrated set, I believe, is offensive, because Milotic has the same special attack stat as Starmie, and, you know, so it's a kind of like, it's a more physically frail offensive Suicune, but it's got survivability and it's stronger. And what's more is that you can run HP Grass, you totally can, but you can also run Hypnosis, and it is a devil to deal with when the special attacker shuts down your special wall, except Milotic hits harder than Gengar. Like, let's say your average Hypnosis Gengar has Ice Punch, Thunderbolt, and Giga Drain, or maybe Explosion over one of those, and you're not really benefiting from sleeping a Metagross. But with this, you just 2 a KO with Hydro Pump and run Shiny Milotic because it's amazing. And it's got a great speed stat too, so you can get the jump on a lot of stuff, you know, Modest Moltres, Heracross, Suicune, whatever. And you can also run Modest yourself and still be a pretty big speedster because it's got the Gyarados speed. So you can run around here and have a really strong Hydro Pump that's tough to deal with. You know, if you pair Spikes with this, like you should, and your Witchin is a Snorlax, then, you know, yikes. Don't want to deal with that. Of course, you don't have to run Hypnosis on it, especially if you got a sleep move somewhere else. You can run HP Grass for better coverage, really put Swampert away safely. And yeah, it's a great, great, great set. And it's really, really dangerous alongside Spikes and Sand. Definitely running with Spikes and, of course, Sand. Moltres is interesting because most of the time it's just going to be the same variations on the same set like I went over in my Moltres video. If you want to go look that up, it's just Fire Stab, HP Grass, Will-O-Wisp, and then Roar, Agility, Protect, Overheat, which is really good, and whatever. So that's the same kind of deal over and over. Moltres generally fits on Spikes teams, it's really dangerous, all that good stuff. But today, or here, I guess, I want to go over a set that's kind of different. And so to understand the set, you want to understand the concept of weather clearing. So Suicune and Snorlax are great Pokemon, but they are affected by sand more than anything else in the entire metagame. They hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. It makes stuff like Zapdos Thunderbolt a huge threat to Snorlax, or even T-Tar Rock Slide to Suicune. And so some teams like to run weather clearing moves. They like to remove the tar and then clear the weather with Sunny Day or Rain Dance, and then they no longer have to worry about it, and Suicune and Snorlax feel unkillable. Problem is, what do you fit it on? Some people like to throw it on Mag or Doug, and that's not really reliable. Those guys aren't reliable weather changers. Some people like to run Spidef Zapdos, but ZF came up with this. Now the old Moltres set looks something like this, but ZF came up with this as a method of luring in and crippling T-Tar and then being able to change the weather all in one, which means you don't necessarily need Dugtrio, which is really nice. And Moltres, of course, has the great defensive properties of switching into Metagross really nicely, which prevents it from, and if you get blown up on, then it's not blowing up on your Suicune, so generally, this is a great Pokemon for more balanced teams looking to clear the weather. You can throw in an offensive spread. I like Modest because I haven't really come across a spread that a situation where Moltres needs a ton of bulk. So yeah, this set is really nice. Credits to ZF, and it's reliable. It spreads burns, it sets up sun, and it makes your other guys really nice. So Shiny Moltres is pretty good too. Porygon2. There are a lot of gimmicky sets you could run here, like, Sharp. You set up on a Dugtrio locked into Aerial Ace and you use Sharp into +6 and you don't do anything. But, other than running Shiny, there is a nice move Porygon2 can run, and it is HP fighting, which means, T-Tar is no longer really very good against it, and you kind of forget, that attack stat is not bad. It's not like Blissey, so suddenly, the IVs are horrible, but yeah, none of these options are really nice. So yeah, you just run whatever P2 spread you like, and you throw in some Spidef, whatever. It's still a good check to a great check to Salamence, as long as it's not CV Brick Break, and traps Dugtrio and whatnot, and then you can really manhandle the T-Tar afterwards, and that opens up guys like Jirachi, who loves Dugtrio being removed and loves T-Tar being weakened. So Markop or Marco P used to use a lot of this set. So yeah, EVs can be whatever, really. And yeah, so really, really nasty at dealing with tar. Regice. I'm still looking for the optimal Regice, but first of all, Shiny. I've toyed with like Hail Protect before. It was a stupid gimmick, but and maybe Ancient Power is the way. No, I don't think so. But I think the most reliable way to get something out of Regice is, I don't know. The closest thing to an underrated set would be something fast, because I do think fast Regice gets more opportunities. Skarm, lots of T-Tars, lots of Metagrosses, so you probably want HP Fire, and a chunk of Swampert as well. And yeah, maybe even plus speed, honestly, because this is not a bad speed set. You're getting outsped by Swampert, but what the hell? You're also getting the jump on slow Suicunes and Milotics and some T-Tars, and yeah, I don't know. It's pretty ugly. Another option you can run is Superpower. Now, I think this is still super gimmicky, but especially because Regice already has problems dealing damage to specially defensive Skarmory with max special attack T-Bolt. But with Superpower and a lot of attack investment, and maybe you just run Adamant or Lonely, I guess, then maybe you just run Thunder Wave to really nail it to tar. Because Focus Punch, 2 prediction reliant. With Superpower, you can actually weaken. The calcs against Blissey and stuff are pretty bad, but it's something. So with Regice, I really don't have an answer. either run max speed on the special attacker or try superpowering stuff. I think the max speed special attacker has more potential. Hell, I think even HP Grass would be pretty good on special attacking Regice because Swampert tends to stay in on it a lot. So if you can nail that, then that's really good. So we'll just throw that in there. I mean, Regice's #1 nemesis is, Metagross. And without HP Fire, then Forretress, but, you know, one crisis at a time. But, you know, if you can get this on Swampert, then that's still pretty good. So, yeah, no. Oh, and you can run Thunder, so you can threaten Paralysis on Metagross and do a lot more damage. You're already living on the edge, so. Yeah, there's that. Anyway, so moving on. Salamence. Well, obviously, Choice Band is underrated because people actually still use other Salamence sets. No, kidding. This is a Salamence set I came up with a long time ago, and seeing it become acknowledged was one of the great thrills of my Pokemon career. So, there are a lot of options here. Oh, first of all, I'd like to mention Hydro Pump just for fun. Now, I don't think Pure Special Salamence is like a consistently good Pokemon, but I think it's it does have legitimate upside. It's not just a gimmick. So the reason that you run Hydro Pump is because Salamence scares out T-Tar a lot and likes to pivot into Gengar, sometimes Aero, sometimes Zapdos. And, you know, sometimes you have these prediction wars, like, do I attack the T-Tar staying in with Brick Break? Do I attack the switch in with Dragon Claw? And with Hydro Pump, you don't have to predict. You hit the T-Tar, and in the same move, you Oko Arrow, you hit Zapdos and Gengar just as hard as Dragon Claw, and you even have other benefits, like you absolutely destroy Claydol. It is incredibly strong. So, it is a fun little set to toy around with. I like it a lot. Obviously, you need superb anti-Blissey support, but a little more widespread is this set, which this can also vary, but Wish. Now, the classic Wish Ments you think of is, you know, slow, fat, bulky. I don't like that much. I like an offensive Salamence that can still, when it's getting walled by Milotic or whatever, then you wish up and suddenly your Celebi is back up to full, or your Snorlax or whatnot. You know, you scare something out, you scare out T-Tar or whatever, you wish on the switch, and you haven't really compromised your offensive Pokemon while being able to provide your teammates with the sustain they need. So it's a really, really great set. This Brick Break can be HP Grass if you want. I like Brick Break in general because with spikes, the teams I've used it on generally have spikes and good Swampert answers. You know, Cloyster takes advantage of Swampert. Wishing to Cloyster against Swampert is freaking beautiful. So, yeah, this is a great set. It's really nice. You can run plus speed if you like. I like it to be strong. So there's that. You can run more attack. Oh, this is another underrated thing. This is on just standard Mixed Ments too, so I'll make that a thing. If you're running plus speed, or plus special attack, sorry, on Mixed Ments, then you can afford to not run max speed. And instead you run more attack. And this is super crucial because Blissey tends to hang on by, you know, just a little bit against Salamence with just, you know, this much attack. So when you run this much, then, you know, especially with just a little bit of chip damage, like maybe your Zapdos used Toxic on it and it didn't heal it off, so it's at 94 instead of 100, then suddenly it's in real trouble. So this is just a good switch on standard Mixed Ments. So yeah, Ments rules, and yeah, moving on, Skarmory. Jeez, I don't know, man. It's Skarmory. At this point, we know of HP Ground as a legitimate set, so I don't know if that'd really be my pick for underrated. I guess there's, you know, I guess I'll just say I like Taunt, Roar, because you can't run Whirlwind and Drill Peck. So you run this. This set is just generally good. You know, you can run little speed, you can run a lot of speed, you can run whatever. And the bulk can be, you know, anything. But I really like it just because you mess with Claydol, you mess with Forretress really hard, and you hit Heracross, you hit Celebi, you hit Gengar switches. That's really big. And sometimes you want Toxic, but this set is generally reliable at doing Skarm things. Obviously, you want support against Starmie of some kind, the defensive spinner with Recover. And but for general purposes, I love the hell out of this Skarm set. It's very reliable, and I don't know if it's underrated, but underrated Skarm sets. I'm not about to say, hey guys, Choice Band Skarmory is underrated, because it's really not. So this is HP Ground is obviously another option. Max attack, max speed, taunt, HP Ground, Drill Peck, good set. And you can throw Toxic on here. The one thing that I would say about Taunt Toxic Skarm being underrated now is that you mess up Refresh Pert really badly. And Refresh Pert now, it used to be that Swampert ran like hell from Skarmory because it was afraid of getting Toxic, which would essentially ruin it. Now, Swampert just stays in and spams Surf against Skarmory, beating it down while not being afraid of Toxic because of Refresh. And for that reason, then Taunt Toxic really ruins it. So there's an underrated thing you can make use of. I like Taunt Drill Peck still, but yeah, there's that. So, yeah, Snorlax. I'm going to take a leaf out of Vapokuno's book and recommend an offensive Snorlax without Body Slam. So you're not going to be spamming normal stab or anything, but the upsides are big. So first of all, you want Focus Punch because you don't always want to have to run Magneton to remove Skarmory. And you like OHKOing Tyranitar, obviously. And however, you want Shadow Ball because you don't want to fit Pursuit Tar. You want to run a different kind of Tar. Maybe you can fit a Pursuit Metagross, and that's enough. But you can't be totally helpless against Gengar. So then the last slot usually goes to Body Slam, and I think Earthquake on Snorlax is really underrated. Now that sounds weird, but generally when Skarmory's out of the picture, then the switch-ins to Snorlax are stuff like T-Tar and Metagross and Jirachi, and when you have Earthquake, then suddenly it's so much harder to deal with. So it is underrated in that sense. Metagross doesn't really care for Focus Punch that much, and with Earthquake you actually threaten it. And even worse, let's say you face a sub Jirachi, then you can't actually break the sub without, Focus Punch, you attack and don't do anything. Best case, you boom on the sub, pretty much. So, Earthquake, you go from being totally taken advantage of by Jirachi to checking it. Same even against Super Rachi. Super Rachi, just Earthquake it twice and boom, it's dead, instead of you having to sacrifice yourself for it. So, EVs, yada yada, something like this. So, yeah, I think this set is really good. Starmie, what's underrated? Well, some people like the defensive spinners, some people think it's awful. I think it's a little inconsistent at a lot, so I'm going to take the standard offensive set and mention good last options, because that is where Starmie makes its money, and the fourth slot can really change the tide of a game. The standard slot, of course, is Rapid Spin. Who doesn't like not dealing with spikes? Now, it's good, obviously, but I'm not crazy about it because a lot of the time, this is supposed to be a threat, and I don't want it stepping on spikes and doing nothing but removing. So it can work if you have some plan of longevity, but if you have Leech Seed or Wish on your team and you use the Starmie for cleanup, and you can afford to heal it with with support from your teammates, as opposed to just letting Starmie, spin into Blissey and get chipped slowly, and then Skarmory sets up later, over and over again, it gets ugly. So I don't particularly love that. It can work, but there are a lot of other great options. Psychic, just pure attacking. Now, Gengar can't stop you. Heracross drops. Generally nice to have a 100% accurate stab for finishing off a 15% Snorlax. Generally a nice thing to have against the occasional Hariyama or Machamp. Hell, even Weezing. So it's generally nice to have. Speaking of stab, then nothing worse than having to hit multiple Hydro Pumps to finish off weakened Pokemon like a 30% Magneton or Metagross. You run Surf. You will need Hydro Pump's power, no question about that. I would never run Surf, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, something else. You can't only have Surf, but you can have Hydro Pump and Surf. And let me tell you, you might think, oh, come on, you can't be afraid of Hydro Pump accuracy. Look, Starmie is as literally hit or miss as it gets. You know, you hit Hydro Pump, you hit your water move, you win. You don't hit it, you lose. Now, sometimes you are going to have to Hydro Pump a full health T-Tar because otherwise you're just never going to kill it. But, you know, against that 40% T-Tar, no. Against that weakened Magneton, Metagross, Jirachi, you want that Surf in that situation. I think it's slightly better. Another option, HP Grass. You're thinking, well, what do you need to hit Waters for? Because Thunderbolt already hits Waters, and Hydro Pump is neutral against Swampert. Yeah, but sometimes you're going to want to do a lot more to Swampert, because Hydro Pump is a 3 KO against defensive sets, and Earthquake 2 KOs you back, and Starmie can't afford to, you know, mess around, especially when Swampert's protecting and making the whole ordeal so much more complicated. And you want to be spamming Hydro Pump, hitting 3 of them in a row? No. HP Grass is really nice. Just totally shuts offensive and defensive down. Really brings a new element to its cleaning potential. In theory, you could even run HP Grass over Thunderbolt. I wouldn't entirely recommend it, but if your team can handle it, you know, if your team's got a lot of other power against Suicune and Gyarados and whatnot, then yeah, go nuts. And you can run HP Grass and Surf. And then, you know, you're finishing off Swamperts, you're finishing off weakened Metagrosses and T-Tars safely. So, yeah, just never ditch Ice Beam. So, yeah, those are those options. Suicune. What is underrated on Suicune? Well, there's a lot of options. We can run the... Let's go with 2. I think I've talked about the set before, but this is Asta's Crocoon. So this used to be an advanced legend with bold, max HP, max defense. Asta brought it back because it hits really hard. You can't stall it with Blissey and Milotic when it's got so much special attack investment, whereas with 0 special attack, then it can potentially get PP stalled. And if Skarmory tries to phase a max special attack boosted Suicune with like 3 Calm Minds and it's Sleep Talk Surf, then goodbye. It steamrolls a lot of teams really naturally, so a lot of people know the set by now. Asta sometimes even likes a Hydro Pump, which can be nice for disguising the set and really, really hitting hard. But Surf is more consistent. And the other set is UDs, which I have tried to put on a team for a while. Haven't really succeeded so far, but a problem Sub Suicune has is that it will avoid the status in Leech Seed and, you know, chip of Seismic Toss. But in Sand, it gets weakened really quickly, so Blissey just Seismic Tosses it down anyway, and Suicune does nothing. Besides maybe do 50% of the Blissey. But when you have Rain Dance, you don't have to rely on other Pokemon to clear the sand for you. You just do it yourself. Suddenly, you know, you sub on Blissey and now you're good to go. Especially with sub and pressure working together. So it is a really, really nice combination. And of course, you boost your own Surfs, making it even tougher to PP stall. So I'm gonna say you need max HP for Seismic Toss, obviously, and you want to outspeed max T-Tar, and then you run some special attack investment. So yeah, this is a great set too. Credit to UD, credit to Asta for this one. Moving on, Swampert. Well, we know the standard Swampert sets. We know that you know, Mono, Protect, Surf, Toxic, Refresh. We know the standard Old Tank. We know the offensive set. We know the Endeavor set. So does Swampert have anything in the tank that, you know, can surprise us at this point? Well, I could be that guy and say, well, on sub you can run Swagger and, you know, cheese people. And I mean, I guess you can. But my preferred Swampert has always been Defensive Roar, because Protect Toxic is really nice. This is actually a set I came up with the help of my friend Bada Bing a long time ago. I was doing Protect Toxic Roar because I just wanted those moves, and I was trying to come up with whether Earthquake or Ice Beam would be the best option. He was like, why not just stab with Surf? So, thanks, Bada. And, yeah, so the reason I thought of this was because I used to run EQ Protect, Ice Beam, the standard old Swampert, and the last can be Surf, Hydro Pump, Toxic, you know, whatever. But I always really loved Roar. And Roar is a really nice tool because stuff like Suicune no longer sets up on you, especially nice with the spikes, of course. But you can no longer be set up on by Curslax, by Suicune, by that DD Tar that you're too weak to weather a hit from. It's really nasty, and of course it's nice with spikes damage. And of course whether you're running Surf, Protect Toxic, or Earthquake Ice Beam, then the same idea applies. So you should be running this spread, obviously, because you survive a max special attack Zapdos and Moltres HP Grass like this anyway. So Roar is also really nice because even if you're walled, even if they've got that Skarmory or whatever, then with spikes down, you can drag in other Pokemon and make their life miserable. Like, for example, let's say you have some spikes down, and the opponent has the Skarmory to wall your Swampert. Even if it's the Earthquake Ice Beam variant, you Roar, bring in Dugtrio. Uh-oh, Doug took spikes, and now has to run away again. Or else, Swampert will just kill it for free. You Roar again, you keep dragging it in. So it's nice as a tool for even when Swampert is walled. So I always felt Roar on defensive Swampert was underappreciated, which is ironic because I come from DPP where Roar was, the super standard move on Swampert. So, yeah. Tyranitar. How do we possibly pick an underrated set for Tyranitar? It does everything well. I guess I'm going to go with a forgotten monster in Choice Band. Choice Band Tar is unbelievably scary. Like, in terms of immediate damage, yeah, Mixed does a lot of super effective damage, but, it can have its problems. I mean, it gets walled by Moltres, for God's sake. But with Focus Punch, with Choice Band, nothing walls Tar. The only thing that walls Tar is Protect, and sometimes even that's not enough, because it just is so strong. Its Focus Punch is so powerful. It does 70-ish to Skarmory. It does in the 60s to even max defense Swampert, which nobody runs. So just imagine the offensive Swamperts and Metagrosses that have to switch into this behemoth. And of course you immediately threaten Blissey. Fear like to run Brick Break to OHKO other Tars, which is totally feasible. I like HP Bug still. You can run Brick Break over HP Bug or Focus Punch if you want, but this is, and the upsides are great. OHKOing others Tars is amazing. But this is the moneymaker. This is the classic CB Tar that threatens absolutely everything. I mean, Breloom will not be coming into this physical Tar. Focus Punch puts it away, and even the other attacks just do so much damage. So it's a risk, of course. Obviously, it can take anything besides a Focus Punch, but taking a lot of damage. Although that doesn't really matter for Loom. It's just with some spikes down, then it gets really hairy really fast. And of course, it doesn't even need spikes down. This is basically the best CB Arrow partner ever. They just banned Rock Slide through everything. I remember M-Dragon's classic team with just Spikes, Skarm Bliss, Gengar, and there's 2 CB Rocks. Yikes. So yeah, don't sleep on the CB Tar. And we're going to do a 2-for-1 bonus because Tyranitar is Tyranitar. I think Sub Punch Tar is awesome. Makes it harder for Doug to deal with it. And there's a lot of variation. I'm partial to the old Viltar set with HP Bug or HP Grass like G80 used to use. I think it's a terrific wall breaker. Protects itself from Dugtrio and hits everything really, really hard. And so this is nice. And another option is a kind of twist on the old Boa Tar. Now, Boa has not been good for like a decade and a half, like literally a decade and a half. But this set popped up a while ago, and it's pretty nasty. It's like the Mixed Tar, but it doesn't have the coverage, but it's got the Doug protection and hits hard with Focus Punch and the surprise value. Of course, that is supposed to be a hidden power grass. So you got the fire grass coverage and you got the fighting to handle Blissey. So, I mean, EVing it is kind of tough because you want some speed and you want some special attack. But at the same time, this is a really dangerous set, and yeah, with this much special attack, you're still hitting harder than the mixed variant. So around this is good. So yeah, T-Tar rules. Don't sleep on it. So we'll get rid of these and move on to our last in OU, Zapdos. What does Zapdos do? What surprises it? You might be tempted to use Choice Band HP Fighting, but I'm here to tell you that that has a 37.5% chance to OHKO Max HP T-Tar, so really, what's the point? I love Zapdos, though. I think it's incredible. So the set I'm going to show you is a more reliable T-Tar and Bliss killer because you don't give up on lefties, you don't lock yourself into moves, and you keep up offensive momentum. It is mixed with HP Fighting. And, you pair this with Spikes, Cloyster most of the time, clean up with Jolteon, who really appreciates the walls this is breaking. And Zapdos' Drill Peck is really nice because it crushes Celebi, who otherwise walls it really nicely. So, yeah, there's that, and yeah, you can run this much speed, you can run more speed. I like to run some special attacks still, because I want its Thunderbolts to sting. But yeah, the Zapdos set is really, really, really fierce. And so pair it with Spikes, pair it with other special attackers that don't like Celebi and Blissey and Tyranitar, and it will do a lot of work. So we are not quite at the hour-and-a-half mark yet, so I don't really think they're... I mean, these are underrated Pokemon like Blaziken and Breloom and whatnot, but I don't think there are really many underrated sets on these guys. So I guess I'll do an underrated set from Ludicolo. I've seen Tama use this one a lot. I think Rain Dish is probably a better ability because Swift Swim, even if Rain is active, then yeah, I think this is... Anyway, so this is basically an offensive Ludicolo that has nasty coverage, and when it faces a Blissey, it Leech Seeds, and and it's really annoying because then the Blissey struggles to kill it and then has to switch out because Ludicolo heals so much, of course. So this is a good set on Ludi. I would give it a try. You can run different EVs, of course. Golden Sun used to mess around with a defensive Ludicolo because it walled Metagross. Yeah. I don't think that set is fantastic. I think Leech Protect Serve Toxic is probably... Actually, it's pretty unique, but I think the offensive is probably more consistent at this point in time because of its threat level. You can run Timid to outrun T-Tar and Mag and Meta and Breloom and stuff. So, yeah, that's a good set. Let's see what else is underrated. I mean, there are variations on Breloom, like, ooh, Stun Spore, Swords Dance. I'm not crazy about those. There's, of course, some Charizard stuff. I think I'm going to save that for the first ADV BL Nights episode. So, I've shown the Subtoxic Raikou set. We all know that Steelix is an underrated beast. Vaporeon. Ooh, yeah, okay. So this is a Subpass Vaporeon. I believe Danilo came up with it about 8 years ago, and then I faced Triangles on the ladder, and he told me who was using it, and then I tried it for myself, and then I used it in a couple teams, and I thought it was great, but then I didn't really make anything good with it, and then Dexa was using it a couple years ago, and then I was using it, and now it's like a... And now, Vappy and Asta and others know just how great it is. So, the standard Subpass is like this. Lefties, it's a huge offensive threat because look at that special attack. It's got a great speed stat for all the mid-rangey offensive Pokemon. And most crucially of all, it has 101 subs. Its subs will survive a Blissey Seismic Toss. So you sub on the Bliss switch, and then you pass to T-Tar, and the sub will not be broken. So you can run Timid, you can run Modest. I'm personally a big fan of Modest because it just hits so hard. Most stall teams, they're not going to be able to wall this outside of Blissey, and like Milotic, who, you sub on even harder and pass all over, so it's really, really nasty. So you take advantage of having to go passive against Vaporeon, because otherwise it's just going to slug you with its powerful attacks, and you support your teammates. It's massive threat. I use this on my Calm Mind Pass team, and it's great on a bunch of other stuff too. And here's a set I think it's Vappy's, but if it's not Vappy's, it's Asta's. So sorry, I'm not sure whose it is first, but credit to both of them for. If I think it's Vappy came up with it, and Asta made a great team with it that really showed how threatening it was with like the Subsalic Heracross. Now this is a great lead because you handle every single common lead in advance. You scare out Mence, you scare out T-Tar, you scare out Metagross, and you can't get boomed on because of Sub. And you can't get Choice Band boomed on anyway, and you threaten to 2-KO it. And even against Zapdos, then you survive the... Oh, and with Salic Berry, then you want 249 speed to outrun Dugtrio after a boost. After a speed boost. And here, so you even stand on Zapdos because Thunderbolt will put you into Salic range, and then you 2-KO it. And you can pass the speed out afterwards. Incredible set, really nasty. And yeah, so that's Vaporeon for you. Now, let's see. Another one is Venusaur. Venusaur, you think, oh, slow, you know, because it's bulky, right? You want it to be slow, but it's bulky, it takes hits. Leech, Giga, Fire, yada yada. Well, Venusaur actually is quite fast. It's got that 80 speed is nothing to sneeze at. So you can run this set, and you can run Modest Moltres, but more often you're going to use this because this lets you handle offensive Suicune, which is a really, really, really big target. You can run max special attack to hit stuff hard. You can, you know, I'm just making this EV spread up. I like HP stats that end in 9 because of residual damage and whatnot, but this is the basic idea that you outrun offensive Suicune and Heracross, and you get the jump on Swamperts and T-Tars and Metagrosses and Cloysters and all that good stuff. Hell, you know, nowadays I guess you can run 275 for Claydols and even Smeargles, so there's that. Yeah, so, yeah, a fast Venusaur is the way, I believe. And shiny is cool too. So, anything else? We're at a little more. See, UU, camera up is pretty good, but I don't know that it has any underrated sets. Lunatone, Calm Mind Pass, gimmicky, not good. Omastar? I've used it in some videos before for Rain Dance fun. I don't know about anything here. About NU? Cacturne has some stuff, but you know, that's stupid ass Sandvale. I passed over Gligar earlier too, on purpose. It breaks my heart that Metang's attack stat is not nearly enough to act as a second Metagross. Just use Jirachi. Wailord, of course, we've used him in some videos, water spouting and self-destructing. But I think we're going to go back to... Also, Advanced UU is a beautiful tier. I think we're going to go with our final underrated set. Something with Charizard, of course. Now, this is a set I was made privy to recently, and these are my tweaks. So, basically, the idea is that it's a standard Sub-Punch Zard, but you use the fact that it gets chipped down. Because Zard always likes taking damage because it activates Blaze, but then with Pataya Berry it's even nastier. I personally like special attack on it to actually scare freaking Swampert. And with this, then, should be lonely, then after the Focus Punch and after Blissey brings you to low HP, then you suddenly get taken into Pataya Berry Blaze range, and suddenly even your even your Fire Blast is taking out Blissey. You're doing a ton of damage, as we'll open up the damage calc just for my beloved Charizard, who Game Freak is doing their best to make me hate by giving it such stupid special treatment every single generation. I too enjoyed how they wanted to make a generation focus on all the new Pokemon and make their champion signature Pokemon a frigging Charizard anyway. So yeah, +1 and then Blaze, and you're doing 50% to Blissey, so it's really nasty. So this is just one example of the many things Charizard can do. Obviously the Blast Burn set we've used before I think is great, and we'll just take one last look at that because it's just so glorious. Yeah, we gotta finish on Blast Burn Zard. It will ruin everything. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was informative for you. I hope you take these sets and have some fun with them. I hope they bring you success. And, yeah, use Charizard, of course. But yeah, remember that the next underrated set is just right out there. So even if you think something is stupid, then try it out. See if it works. So thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.